Good morning. Welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman. Today we are going to be working on a beautiful and simple quilt. It's called Windmill Reflections, and you're only going to have to worry about pulling 5-inch squares from your 5-inch bin. So grab that bin, let's get started, and let me show you how to put this quilt together. All right, here is my 5-inch bin. I have gone into that container and I have pulled out a number of dark browns and some lighter fabrics, some golds, a variety of different golds. And these are what I am going to use to make this particular quilt that I'm going to share with you today. I have already made one that's very, very scrappy. And here is a sample. This PDF will be available for you in the description box below. If you are watching this on YouTube TV, you can't access the description box, but go out to my blog and you'll be able to get this PDF there. So this is a free PDF. It shows you what you're going to need, what things you're going to have to pull from your stash. And you basically just need 5-inch squares plus your strip stash to make your borders, or if you choose to sash. I did make this quilt up and I ended up sashing mine, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But there's a couple of important things you got to understand about this particular block. It has a couple of tricks. These look like they're the same block, but they are reversed. This is block A, this is block B. Block B is reversed from this. And that is where you get that beautiful maze, if you will, where it just follows right into the next block. And as you can see, I'm using the darks for that maze, and then the lights are the background. You can do it just the reverse. Use any values that you choose. But the more contrast per block, the better. So for this particular quilt, and of course you can make this as large as you want. I only make small quilts because I have so many hundreds of quilts in my home, I cannot make large quilts anymore. But for this quilt, there are 5 block A's, and they're going in the cross here, and there are 4 block B's. So these block B's are the reverse, and that is what gives that beautiful maze that you are seeing in this quilt. So let's see how this is done. For each block, you need to pull 2 darks and 2 lights. That's what I am pulling for mine. And I need to pull this down here farther so that it is centered. I am using my cutting mat. I'm laying these 5-inch squares right on the cutting mat there so that they line up beautifully. I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to make 2 cuts in each pile. So I've got 2 lights here and I have 2 darks there. I've got them lined up nicely. I'm making sure that all 4 pieces are facing up. That's very important. Everything needs to be facing you. Nothing goes right sides together at this point or you're going to have a mess on your hands. Make sure everything is facing up. I'm going to take my ruler, and for this block, I am going to place my ruler so that it's on this 2-inch mark here, up at the top, or in your case, it's at the bottom, and the 2-inch mark here, which is at the top. So I'm lining it up, 2-inch, 2-inch. I'm going to give it a cut right there. See what we've done? Same thing over here. I've gone over 2 inches, 2 inches. Lay this on that and cut. There we go. Now, all you need to do is basically swap them. And we're going to sew these together like that. These together like that. And we'll do the same with this side. All right, so I've pinned these 2 already, and you're sewing this, it's a diagonal seam, and there's a little bit of the light showing through down here, and there's a little bit of the dark showing through down there, and that's okay. That's exactly what you want. You'll sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I have those 2, and again, I just swapped. If you remember, I had moved these over from there, and so now I'm going to take these last 2, and I'm going to just line them up. And you can pin them or you don't have to pin them. Line them up and do the same. So I'm going to sew all 4 of these at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll bring them back and show this to you. All right, I have all 4 of these sewn together. I went ahead and just pressed my seam allowances open on it. You could press it to the dark, whichever, it doesn't matter. And now what we need to do, because we started out with a 5-inch square, this is only 4.5 inches wide now because of the seam allowances. So we need to make the length of it 4.5 inches. And so what I do for each of my blocks, I simply lay them all right side up again. All of them are right side up. I'm going to cut all 4 of them at the same time. I'm simply going to cut 1/2 inch off the bottom. I want the top dark part to be nice and fat, so I'm never going to cut from this nice fat dark part, which is the widest part. I'm always going to cut from the skinny dark side, and that's how I just remember in my mind to cut from the right side. So here we go. Let's lay my ruler on there. I want it to be at 4.5 inches, and we will cut off a 1/2 inch from the skinny dark side. That's how I cut all of my blocks. Now we have a 4.5 inch square, or 4 of them that are squares. And you're simply going to put them together like this. They're each going to go perpendicular, kind of like when you put together a pinwheel. Let me move this down. I want to make sure all of this is in the screen for you. And there we go. How fun is that? It's just beautiful. The more contrast you have between the lighter section and the darker section, the better. And that helps the eye to travel around the quilt. So every block A is made just like this, where you're pulling two of the darks, 2 of the lights, and you're going to cut in the same direction. Now, let's make the block B so you'll understand how that's done. And I'll sew them all together here for you in just a minute so that you can see what they're going to look like. But let's grab 2 of the, you know what, let's grab these 2 right here for something different. Okay, so this one is going to be block B, and I'm lining it up right on that 5-inch area there. I'm going to have to move this out of the way. Let me grab these 2. All right, is it centered? Yes, there you can see it. All right, so now for block B, if you remember before we went 2 inches here, 2 inches there. We have to do just the opposite this time. Now we have to go in 2 inches from this side and in 2 inches from this side. It's just the opposite of how you cut the first one. So let me get over here, that like that. So I'm going 2 inches over here and 2 inches from that side, just the opposite. There we go. Now, again, you just flip, flip. And we're going to put these together. Again, when you put them together, there's going to be a tiny little yellow, the lighter color coming through there, and then a tiny little bit of the darker color there. And that is good. So you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance, do the same with all of these, just as we did with the other ones. Let me sew these. I'll bring it back to you here at the table so you can see what these look like. All right, I have all 4 of block B sewn together. I have them stacked up evenly here at my table. And again, I want to trim off a 1/2 inch because I need to have a 4.5 inch square. And right now it's 5 by 4.5. So again, I want to make sure that to keep the dark is the large or wide dark side. I don't want to ever cut from the wide dark side. I want to cut from the narrow dark side to remove that 1/2 inch. So I simply line this up here on the 4.5 inch mark, and I'm going to cut away that narrow dark side that we're always cutting from the same side. And then we're going to put this one together. So we have, and again, it's kind of like the pinwheel where you just flip each one. So there we go. I don't think I cut this one correctly. Let me make sure I have it. Yep, I didn't cut that one very well. Need to fix that. There we go. There. So there is block B. Let me put block A here for you. Let me move this over just a little bit so that you can see both of them. Now here is block A. And when you put them right next to one another, notice how the dark just will follow through into the next block. Block A, block B. They look the same, but they are not. They are different, and that all stems from your cut line. We cut these on the 2-inch mark in one direction, and we cut these from the 2-inch mark in the other direction. That's how you obtain this. Now I'm going to sew these together. I'm going to make a couple more here so I can put 4 of them together so that you can see how beautiful they are together in a foursome. I'm going to review with you how to cut block A and block B. And remember, I've got 2 squares face up for each of them. So this will be block A, this will be block B. And again, 2 squares facing up. So for block A, I'm going to line up my ruler on the 2-inch mark from here to there. And again, from here to there, 2-inch mark, 2-inch mark. So that will be block A. And all you do then is swap these 2 and you're going to put them back. You're going to put them together. Now, block B, we're going to measure over from this side and from that side on the 2-inch mark. So here we go. And again, 2 inches over, 2 inches over. We're going in the opposite direction. And we're simply going to flip and sew these together. So you can see they're both different. And then we're going to go ahead and sew them all together, and we'll create again block A and block B. And then you'll see how they work with one another beautifully in the pattern. All right, so I have these units sewn together, and now I have to make them 4.5-inch squared. Right now they're still 5 inches long. And again, I don't want to cut from the wide, dark side. That's how I remember this all the time. I'm always going to cut from the narrow, dark side of the square to make sure that I get my 4.5-inch square units. So I'm going to cut here. I'm going to have to fix this right here. I've got a little bit of a fuzziness up top there. I just want to clean this up right here. It's a bunch of fuzzies. There we go. Got those fixed there. All right, now we're going to cut this at 4.5 inches. And again, I'm cutting from the narrow, dark side. All right, whoops. So now here is block B. Let's go ahead and put it together. There we go. Let me make sure that these are laying centered where you can see all of this. And by the way, for each of these blocks, I pressed my seam allowances all open. Everything was pressed open. It just lays nice and flat that way. So I've pressed them all open. I'm going to line up. So this block will flow into this once the seam allowances are all taken into account here. Now let's get this one put together here. And there we go. And of course, I have to add my seam allowances here, which will make it line up more beautifully with these 2 blocks. But isn't that pretty? What a neat design that results from putting these 4 blocks together. In fact, I'm going to raise my screen a little bit so that you can see this better. All right, these are not yet sewn together, so they will match much more nicely once the seam allowances are in all of this. But isn't that a beautiful design? How fun. And of course, the larger you make this, you'll continue seeing these designs scattered all across the quilt. So I hope that you'll try this. I am going to finish putting this together and I'll photograph it so you can see it at the end. But I'm going to bring up a scrappy one that I did for you and place it on the tabletop. It was so scrappy that I ended up sashing each individual block so that you could actually see the units themselves. Every square was completely different, and it's a great way to use up your scrap stash. Give me a minute and I'll bring that up for you to take a peek. All right, so you can put this pattern together just as I've shown you with block next to block, and it creates this beautiful design. Or you can sash each of these blocks as I have done here. And you'll notice every single block that I put together was completely scrappy. Every block had let's see, 8 different fabrics in the block. Each of these blocks do measure 8.5 inches unfinished and then 8 inches in the quilt. I used my strip stash, my 1.5 inch wide strip stash for sashing, and I sashed around the outside edge as well. And then I used my 2.5 inch strip sash for my outer border. And you could keep on making borders. I did do cornerstones in each corner of the outside border. There's so much you can do. What a great stash buster. I hope that you'll all try this quilt. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you don't already have your scrap stash cut, sorted, organized, and ready to go to make beautiful quilts, you want to check out this book set, and I will have a link below in the description box for not only the books, but also a video that will walk you through my techniques on how you can get your scrap stash cut, sorted, organized, stored, ready to use to make gorgeous quilts. There are 5 scrappy patterns in this book along with the techniques, and an additional 12 scrappy patterns in this coordinating book. Between the two, you get 17 scrappy patterns and all the techniques you need. So check that out. Definitely watch that video. That will really help you. And I thank you so much for joining me today. Don't forget to grab this free PDF that's in the description box. Again, if you can't access the description box, go out to my website, quiltingwithlori.com, and go to the blog that's coordinating with this particular video, and you can grab the PDF there. Thank you so much for joining me. If you do like the content that I provide, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends and family. I love reading comments from my viewers, so hopefully you'll comment. Let me know if you're going to make this quilt with using up your 5-inch squares. So until next time, happy quilting to you all.